brothel is happening and the poetry is beginning. We're all taking off all our clothes and diving into the poetry where we are swimming and winning with the women and the men. Hey!
To shove ourselves into each other. Found it to function in another body. Knew your pace was 72 beats per minute without strenuous exercise. Love is not a strenuous exercise. It is an empty pocket. A bursting earth. You were a lilting flag in the valley, tempted by fates of brass to be the chest first, clean-eyed vision of the setting sun, unable to speak without each word ringing. You are fading into a ghost in the smoke of all this breaking. Crap! Don't panic. Forget the luggage. It will be too much to carry. Break the locks. Ignore the anxiety. It's a trap. Grab the grenades in her vocal cords. Hurdle over her tears towards the exit. Leave the sandcastles behind her eyes, the ice sculpture in her lungs, the pendulum on her tongue, the medallion in her hips has lost its sway. Crack! The curtains have caught fire. There is smoke. Step on the left. The password is I want to love myself again. Enjoy the music of that place evaporating. Make yourself sing to it. Dance if you can. This is the only way out.
So many other amazing poets into that bending oak, and she steered the whole house, her shaking self, in the direction that a rainbow was insinuating soft, the dullest tones of a weeping harpy in her ear. She could not help but help the house break a spine so much darker than her own. She broke green skin like Christians break bread. When Dorothy landed, Glinda did not just waltz, cocooned in pink cellophane to meet her blind. No, because I lived on the edge of her lower lip for a while, and I heard when she whispered to the girl, "Little lady, the harpy is the rainbow's sister, did you know? And she can rake talons through human flesh just as easily as her sister harvests that magic under human eyelids, darling. They are not so far apart, and you aren't either. A warm skin against flickering dream. I remember Miss Gale. I remember how just the faintest little banshee of a smile took wing across her lips as the broomstick woman melted. I remember. She was no innocent, who had just been told of a perfect infant flicked into her stomach by the hand of a giant, dove-shaped, distracted god. She was no white-haired child forced to let them eat cake to lose a cranium like you might lose a necklace. And she was not in Wonderland. Not Dorothy. She, like an apocalypse rider, touched the foreheads of her monsters with just a fingertip till they fell, could dig it out amongst the dizzying collection of papers that are stuffed beneath my chest.
When we stop, I pick worms from the mud of the new town, the blind tubes flexing against me. Even creatures who cannot see you want to get away. It's not that I lie. I could appear to you in any dress and say, "This is my story," meaning, this is what a man has done to a woman. I want you to pity me a moment before we commit the act that will take a little of my soul. I'm from a nation of shifters. I can pass through beds and languages. I can lie with anyone and tell what it is like for him.
Bites will not be tooth and nail. They will be inside joke between high five and knee slap as soon as summer camp extended beyond day trip and styrofoam lunch tray. Counselors spoke to me in raggedy patchwork of street slang and condescension humor. Taught my skin to feel black in mixed company. To feel black in mixed company is to suspect sidewinder inside innuendo as soon as you identify the laughter of a rattlesnake's tail. Do not run, do not cry. Thin skin will only get you eaten alive in these streets where we still do not know what happened to little Tasha. Still do not know who killed Rasta Mike. Still.
Nation is a cage. I want to die a classic. This will kill you, in fact. So, those were my poetry whores. They're about to go on shift inside the poetry brothel. That's building 410. It's the brick house right over here. The left side, you'll speak to a man in a hat and a vest named Antonius. He will sell you a poker chip for $5. You will give that poker chip to the poetry whore of your choice, and you'll enjoy a private reading in one of our upstairs bedrooms. I hope to see you there. Thank you so much.
Not handpicking the executive branch. There are no action heroes acting like politicians. No politicians acting like action heroes neither. No Jesse the Body Slamming governor. No bedtime for Bonzo dealing arms. No Terminator in Sacramento hitting switches and Kentucky frying Tukis the all-American way. Too foreign. The outside world is not American enough. We need a more user-friendly Cuba.
By the Huelga General. Each citizen's important in the Huelga General. Pasting stickers to their bodies for the Huelga General. Cerrado por, paro por, the Huelga General. The parade is now filling the Huelga General. Laughing, honking, looking, singing, the Huelga General. Moving up Calle Alcalá, the Huelga General. A big roar moves up the crowd. The Huelga General. Someone is dumping water on. The Huelga General. Contra paros y precariedad. The Huelga General.
There is no community here. People are like ghosts, crying like cornets and bugle horns from the Louis Armstrong wing of the hospital. The park has George Washington in an upright horse at one end and Lincoln is at the other. And yet in all this patina and devotion, this memory and commotion, and this world invisible.
You won't! This poetry slam is war! No, it's not! This is a tragedy of sound. You've got your first world problems. Here's some first world solutions. Throw some fucking cash at it. Throw a fucking steak at it. Donate your hair to Lots of Love. We're making saints. Self-impressed corpses. Feel much better about yourself.
The world is burning everywhere but where you are sitting.
There's a shovel in the corner.
We ask you to dig.
Mind the pipes of yourself. Find some gratitude. Some of that amazing grace.
And seeds with the sun.
He's so stoic, thinks he's a poet. Snickety snap, look at that, he's a class act, well educated, he's overrated. Heard a lady call him adorable, that's just horrible. His writing is deplorable, too much comedy in his poetry. He got jokes, what a dope, his rhymes and lines be simple and wiggity whack like row, row, row your boat. Gazing in nothing there, I can smell his fear, it's clear he's scared. Stick a fork in him, he's done his...
Trevor, you're up next. Just here to remind you that there's lots of stuff going on in the different stages. We're here all day. Please purchase items. If you purchase items, then we can have another New York Poetry Festival, a second Poetry Festival next year. That would be great, wouldn't it? Yeah, that would be great. Is it so terrible to get to come out to a beautiful island like this, with a sky like this, on a day like today? Is it so terrible? I don't think so. I think it's great to hear the poetry that we just heard. Let's hear it again from the New York Poetry.
Mobile, my socioeconomic. Cultivating the fine art of pressed for time dawdling. Tape around one and the moment before myth makes a home in yours. Did someone give you a cloak that infested the others? Or have they lined your drawers for years? Poised to flutter about, dentists and banks and life savings, a conversion of saving half-lives, this financial purgatory so oddly American. Teeth gleaming from these stiff uppers, to wake up with the smell of enamel burning, the grinding of whose toil ensures these incisors.
Her possessions, books, records, the landscapes she painted from photographs of Armenian landscapes. I plucked her, a kitschy figurine, and abhorrent and curious, like ceramic colored boy jockeys planted on suburban lawns. A caricature, golden hue, bravely mourning my tiny living room as desecrated homeland.
My unabashedly hairy legs, whose chapeau petit twitch like a chorus for a fatal Sharon Stone. Delight in ces mouvements qui déplacent les lignes, in the motion, the quiver, the more, the catch.
Flushing Meadows, Corona Park, Queens. A round garden surrounded by neo-Doric cement columns. A sun-shaped center for a roof. A vast esplanade, moss growing. 3 structures of graduating heights abandoned archers, corners and curves, images of a disappearance. Geometries 2, Highbridge Park, Washington Heights. Winding iron staircase inside a water tower, late 19th century architecture. Abandoned 50 years ago, it remains a point of reference to all heading south.
It's springtime, and I'm with my honey, the woman I love. And as we go along, there is a farm. And the duck goes, and the horse goes, and the dog goes, and the chicken goes, and
Tori meets Harold Bloom's weak poet, meets every pop singer who needs to use pitch correction software, meets Louis Hine, meets Sasquatch. The in-between time conjured by tech support poetry denigrates author functions and reader functions alike, acknowledging in the meantime that our state is not unlike that of fleshy automatons moving other people's content around until such time as a more equitable relationship between technology-related labor and our collective awareness of bodies can be achieved. Tech support poetry produces no poems, no authors, no readers, and especially no criticism or manifestos. Join us in this exciting new poetics.
On a page, language is an almanac. My alphabet is a crew of dolphins. Verdict of slanted Joshua trees in transmission, inocular mistrust of neighbor, from the bellies of which spark sharp green fragments and cadaverous songs. My alphabet is a tank of definitions. Foliating like apricot leaves, it haunts the hinting of its crescents, the spaces that ellipse themselves, to ceiling of planetarium, to the nebulous of memory, bronzed photographs tapestry. My grandfather taught me how to swim with onions on his tongue.
In brittle slacks with fertile cuffs and tunics eased in beige. There's no honey at the model rope and twist the speckled twine. Not for nothing sweet and sour, dried with tempered tinsel. Not for every nutmeg tin you find on terraced fjords. There's not a little needle kit amid some fishing hose. Not a single major-rated Manx mouse, nor slim salacious squire with a gift for swift persuasion.
Our noses to touch, we teach her to see. I worry what stories might be left our daughter, gears that shift and stutter, and where she'll look to understand them. Books, like Marcella's, provide a compass. Here there was a skyscraper, there a street light. Here we made love or a wall. Our daughter will inherit second-hand economies.
A sudden flood. You couldn't wait, could you? It had been unexpected for a while. It was what she saw while bathing in a tub filled with buckets of water she'd brought down the hallway from the multi-stalled bathroom. She bathed in front of the floor-to-ceiling windows, a view of the river bend and all the highways.
Possibility. Solid army of light appearing. Sullen army of light appearing. An arm appears ricocheting.
Fireflies weren't catchy enough. I wanted to compose something like Dancing with Mr. D, or Dance All Night, Play All Day, or All She Wants to Do Is Dance. But all I could come up with was The Dance of the Fireflies, a ballet number for insects.
Smiled sheepishly at the singer formerly known as Dorothy. It might be time to go to jail soon, I said to the lady in black. Dead Johnny crooned from the courtyard. One woman wore a lacy white doily for a shirt. She was nice anyway, so I cleaved to her.
Says yes, one says no. Tragedy strikes that little go-getter. Don't know better. Couldn't find her way out of a soup can. Couldn't make it here, nobody can. But seriously, take my husband. Take my wife. I'll find another just as nice. We have measured our success. It is measured. We have done it. Wait for it. Twice. 2 rundown. Let's all get naked and lie down, I told them. You know, you can't say things like that in the classroom. It's a very literal place. Maybe that's why we broke up. I didn't have the right messaging plan. I don't like to be walked on. You didn't appreciate having a
work. Had you turning pink like Kirby when you heard me speak my spoken word. This ain't no dream world or fantasy land. This is reality, man. Hot dead. Even though I don't curse, I swear I will make you tut-tut tremble. About to take you a cute higher. Cue the treble. I spit poems off the dome, I flow 'em like Rome, making dynasties rise and fall with each guttural moan. I intone syllables like a dictaphone, make your head tick-tock like a
Ceiling fan light fixture tried to break free from the ceiling, but its feverish and frantic whirling was in vain. Disappointed, it stings like Robert Balser. Who is the Robert Balser who's American? Isn't there one? Maybe, not really.
Vouchers make it okay to stay quiet. While social programs are the first to go, the hood can't confront the politics they don't understand. Quiet is kept. Our strength comes from a place the seeds of our ancestors' accusers will never understand. Word power, I'm dropping pieces of freedom every time I part my lips. Partnered with something more divine, I am poetically designed to free.
Want a loop, contemplation loop. Discrepancy, don't clench around the way it looked with my hands when I touched it. Apprehending body of lost nipple pleasure, listment, X-light, apprehending through pores in the I-beam, careening off a quantity of a various to be born.
Makes you greater than anyone who has one. Being anonymous is the new famous. No one can compete. No one knows what you do to your face in the glow of your own private moonlight. This is your forest. Someday the trees will become books filled with your philosophy. If the trees become books, will there be anyone left to read them? Will all those books make you greater than someone with only one book? Someone like Thomas James who died before he can write the next
Buster and cupcakes. I like wigs, and I don't like lead. Sometimes I think about maths. I'm a boy, young, and not sure if I'm happy or sad. That brings me to the thing I like. Wigs. It's deceiving. I like wigs and thongs. And it would be great if you wanted to try on some outfits for me. Not necessary, though. I like wigs and beards.
And you will give that poker chip to him or her. These are the next poetry whores that are going on their shift. First, I'd like to introduce Oliver Durant.
And burned everything, sewn together kittens and everything. They kept the eruptions at bay, throats much swollen, gargled complaints, red-handed they burned everything. Sick children, they said, smeared yeast and burnt everything until rooms bare-walled and only the ghosts of contents, the ideas of posters outlined almost yellow, where they failed to paint, where they will paint now that it's over.
Eggplant bruises. Sewing my skin with my favorite color. And in my garden they grow in hungry, malignant shades. Mustard yellow, avocado green, the pregnant black of mold. And with your hands, you water them. You do not know that the little tendrils of their plant toes have penetrated my bones, snaking deeper that my pure white bones become more precious every day, as your children chisel them with the agonizing imagination of an archaeologist, who will one day
saw the yellow house where this inevitably ends, with my blood on your hands. You're a monster in reverse, a peach tree about to bloom. Take me under, entangled in roots. I revolt at being buried, but do love arms so.
That a young male black bear made its way into Jeff Wheeler's garage and drank a bunch of his beer. Perhaps you have seen the footage. The clip ran on all those programs that are on at 7 o'clock p.m. after the national news. The black bear holds the beers between its two paws and then stumbles into a pegboard wall hung with tools. Jeff got pretty famous off of it, but what most people don't know is that he actually trained that bear to come in there and drink beer. That's how he was able to videotape it so well.
This is a sign. It doesn't happen on the street. I was looking for a poem I could read in this company. It's called Nude. It's 10 p.m. I'm out front watering the flowers. The sunflower, the butterfly bush, and the rose, all glistening in the warm dark. One of the husbands is taking out his trash. Somehow he gets to telling me the details about his buddy's trip to a nude beach. There are people who really shouldn't be there, he says. I mean, there are things you just don't want to see. He flashes me a knowing, young, and handsome smile. I smile back. No, I say, you're wrong. Your buddy's wrong. The beach isn't for him, it's for them. And I go in. In my room, I undress at the dark window, as I often do, running my hands over the one body I have known all my life. I, who was once young and beautiful, tell you, the body wants to be loved.
Eve, the only soul in all of time to never have to wait for love, must have leaned some sleepless nights alone against the garden wall, and wailed, cold, stupefied and wild, and wished to trade in all of Eden to have but been a child. In fact, I gather that is why she leapt and fell from grace, that she might have a story of herself to tell in some other place.
And hiss for praise. I was broken, and transitively, science was broken. Our together destroyed worlds. Oppenheimer brought black apples to our grave, and he said, "I told you so." But we all know love is a shallow pit of fingers. And he taught me to bring out my body in the night, measure myself against his intestines. Could my heart coil like his body? My God, he was stunning. Who could ever love me like that?
By removing yourself from the equation, not able to digest what I was fed, my best is constipation. Packed so full of aggression, sardines would be complaining. Becoming an abomination, my abdomen filled with confusion and disillusion. Cause the main ingredient was missing, you left me. And now abandonment's what fills my skin. Boo-hoo? Boo-hoo? Forget that. I ain't Casper, and this ain't a sad love story that ends in happily ever after. My clock is broke, stuck at 9/11. I guess you could say my life's a disaster.
Ready to refract. A porcupine of light pinwheeling off each ring, one on every finger. The sun knows to reach her this way. Through curtains that don't close properly, she sits by the largest window with a calm that spreads like fever. The same chair loves her every day. In the quiet of a house, she is becoming immovable.
In this life by simply passing by. If I could see the world as earth, as a blue-green orb of life, half bright and half balanced against that light, revolving always with the intentions of time and its dimensions, without humans or their purposes.
Now go and build your start. I know it's hard, but it's time now to build that art. So fight the peer pressure, don't let our lives stress you. Look forward to the future, that's finding forever. The truth.
I do. That's very practical of you.
I tried to be useful.
Eloise, I miss you and me.
I'm made of real leather.
In one part of the house at a time. I'm gonna have to do this in shifts. It's my
Fire satin. The October leaves are bronze. The farmhouse windows are glazed in crystal. Nothing goes on that is not money. The supper hum from the houses, it is about money. The hero moving past the dirt roads to the tennis courts, he is about money. All the automobiles are beeping with it. The palm in which the hand is a blue flower. The words are a screen. It is about money.
Let's find out what is the great success and move on. It is not being born an American or the shape of the wind on white curtains. It is not money, old friends, or the sun. It is not the history of ideas. The great success is not he married her and they ate lobster.
And before I'd be a slave, I'd be buried in my grave, and I'd fight for the right to be free. I didn't ask to come here, I was kidnapped. Tied down to the bottom of a slave ship, transported like cattle. I didn't ask to come here, feeling the slave was last forever. Ask Grandmother Ellen Bumpers, ask Philip Purnell, ask Rodney King, I didn't ask to come here. Nobody asked me if I wanted to be a
You guys? Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead. There should be cups right next to it. What is this?
Not here, he. How do you scratch the surface of a city that never itches? When a man loses his life, who finds it? I the am and the resurrection of each of this anyone he will, forever's bread, for my indeed is food flesh. Let not your you be troubled, because I go to place it prepared for you, where you were wedding the wind. I shall take thee, Nicole, to be my wife.
And glide of the spirit of being. Because for every advantage acquired, every corner cut, every loophole learned and trick taught, there is something leaving, left fleeing. Because people are forgetting how to be people. I said people are forgetting how to be people.
Your life, over here, with the tattoos and surgical scars, you've really grown into them. Look at this view, all the people you call friend lined up to the horizon. You couldn't jump off a bridge without landing on someone who loves you. There were nights not so long ago you lay lonely, in wait, hunting the moment the horizon became more than a
building, looking for your twin brothers. I saw you watching your brothers burning, helpless to the ground. I look up at you, tall, proud, beacon. I too am a tower. It's my last name in Spanish. I look at you, glistening in the morning, shining at night. I saw you watching your brothers die. They were beautiful and tall, although I think you have more character, but older brothers wear their age well. I saw you helpless and wanted to comfort you, but you're too big to hug. So I just keep looking at you.
Not to drink it. Alright? That's how you get somewhere in this world.
Alright, but you realize it sends a message to the opposite.
My hips hug crumbled blankets muting the syllables of your name. I will not tell you that I am unsure, that this is not the kind of love I can stay awake to, the kind of love the sun can understand. This is a matter of womb and moon, a matter of condoms and distrust. I will not tell you that my voice is louder than my heart and your phone will not pick up on it. But I will tell you, the flowers outside are yellowing and that the rent is paid and my daughter is well behaved.
And sometimes it seems as if what seems to be sweet is sometimes not as sweet as it seems. But the deception that blurs your perception is ultimately within your reflection, because you should always mean what you say what you mean and mean what you say, and if you owe an explanation, just pay. And do the right thing if the right thing is what you choose or what chose you, but know that what you think is the right thing is not always the right thing to do. And sometimes you just have to give in and give up on what you gave so much to, and then you may find that what you gave up had already given up on you.
Into something hollow, bearing simplicity, missing tongue, abstraction, in short, perhaps terminal, succinct, like rhyme. A moment of parallel between here and not. Perfection equals in standard.
Feed him morsels of your heart, shake roses over his head, to perfume his inhalations with your soul. Whatever you do though, no lo llame por su propio nombre, él prefiere mi amor. Every day, sir, every day I am patience, I am love. These fruits of the spirit are gifts I lay at your careless feet. Even children know not to take candy from hands that slap, though they still do despite crushing fear in their gut. The sweets are bitter. Lullabies croon through new. First kiss blessed by a warm spring rain new. Kind of, is this really happening new? This feeling, this look in your eyes, the timbre in your voice, the one that tells me that I am the rest of your life and the love of your life, and even better.
Is that all we ever need? Next. I saw what was, seeing what was, that we exist between the dead past, the living present, where what is forever outside of time. And there, On the verge, I emit my sovereign sound into time and become a captive escaping a further freedom into words. All right, I'll do one more of these. Thus exposed, spaces become not nothing, not possible. Rather, they are what one now knows, in the now knowing that before this, one could not know what one could not know. So first one, we eat of the overmellow fruits of the field and sit in grass wet with sap and are content with our repast. But what vain harvest this shall yield? 2. What was once, now is not, nor will it ever be again. Turn these words over as often as not. So sweet with a hint of rot. 3. It is late, with a lateness so late, I fear it will never come. So here we'll linger and lie in wait, and wait for worms to replace our tongues. 4. So close, says the life of pain, the eternal refrain doomed to repeat the spurious efforts of our certain defeat, when we must sadly acknowledge the extent of our reach. Thank you, depressed poet.
It pointed. The headlines read, "New shape discovered. Arrow invents the straight and narrow." Children who had been content to trail snails around the patio suddenly made a gesture we'd never seen before, holding one arm out in front of their chests, then curling in all but the longest finger. They wanted to go to the playground and slide down the slide with determined smiles. They pointed at the girl with a blotch of tomato soup on her shirt, the ape with alopecia, and laughed with an unfriendly new note in their laughter. Arrows led to purchases. Arrows led to goodbyes. A simple shape had turned us all from cars into ambulances, keening with intent. The weatherman no longer ambled aimlessly around our TV screen. When he pointed at Chicago, then Boston, the people sitting on sofas in those cities suddenly felt how very different from one another they were. Dogs pulled at their leashes, sparrows vectored through trees, knitters turned to welding. Though there was no denying that the "this way up" signs on parcels meant that more vases arrived at their destinations intact, the new words that mushroomed into being were problematic. Initiative, tomorrow, your fault, mine.
Very different relationship. It made no difference that I stood naked in the kitchen holding a blood orange, waiting for you to change. I had counted contentment in rented corners, empty bottles from last night's party, hardly the way it feels to realize love is just a 4-letter word. I've cooked beside these wives before, Italian, French, and Argentine, soft-breasted women, hips like half-moons under aprons, clean as paring knives. Our lives were 1946 and sex somewhere in broad daylight. It's not enough to open veins and cans of olives drained of any semblance that they lived as things. Our loves become that tin taste, serrated, so even words are kept up high and out of reach of children.
Wait, on 8th Street, on Canal, on Columbus Circle, on Madison, on 125th Street, on Dykeman, on Inwood, on Wadsworth, on Wyckoff, on Lefferts, on Castle Hill, on Zariga, 175th Street. Who finds himself standing, reflecting the city in their smile? Who knows that if he hollers from New York to Paris to LA to London to Tokyo.
Over star, palm over landscape, shift hills, moon lull tongue on water top. I see half asleep, late at night, who can give me little comfort. Thank you. And one more. This one is about language. Communication allowed us to love, to express a feeling towards someone beyond action that could only be expressed inaccurately in word, showing the limit of word, revealing the need for word, appeared out of lack of understanding. Love needs the word love. Paltry white flower that it is The only word we have we cannot define because it is a true word, unlinked and individual, alien to our sick kingdom of the misunderstood.
I have taken off my shining armor, put my noble steed out to pasture, left off the molestation of monsters, the daunting of dragons, and the occasional irking of ogres. I no longer interrupt the duly licensed excavation of diminutive men merely to attract the attention of a narcoleptic brunette holding a half-eaten apple. Nor will I linger on lily pads to lure the libidinous ladies whose ardor is only aroused by the amphibious. I can't get into that sort of kink. I've forsworn my foot fetish, given up the search for the perfect fit to that size 5.5 crystal stiletto dropped by the leggy blonde who was driving around in an orange ass.
Grease flames! As high as my studio basement ceiling, dealing with these things I'm feeling. My stove is a river of sunbeams shining down upon me, smelling lovely. I cook to become free, push my way out of a can of Chef Boyardee and toss that box of mac and cheese into this fast city's fast food breeze. Kick 'em, kick your dependencies. I want to cook like Puerto Rico's jibaritos, and that's the stuff of dreams.
God's mercy and grace. Keep me in your heart. Sadness had enveloped my being when you suddenly left that evening. I wonder if you have really seen how I tried to be strong and serene. I walked 5 miles all alone. My thoughts lingered far and long. The memory of our first meeting rejoices my soul while I was walking. As I close my eyes, each night I sleep. That tender smile on your face I keep. I pray the Lord to bless your heart. Please keep me in your mind and heart.
It's pride in my soul like armor. Puerto Rico, hasta la muerte, death before dishonor. You see, I am Puerto Rican, even though my looks can be misleading. I've been throwing them off for a while now, porque mi manera can be so deceiving. I've been mistaken for Samoan, Hawaiian, Mexican, Dominican, even Punjabi Indian. But I'm Taino. My great-grandfather, dark, his features sharp like arrowheads chiseled from the blackest of...
I'm written into steam. Poem starts to change into a recipe. I'm cooking up a story. You still hungry? Well, deep in the memory, deep in the blue sea. Connected, perfected, totally poetry. Yuppie got a puppy and a baby got a pamper. Doing the 500 in a Winnebago camper. Why? Why? Why Postamon cry? Well, back in the history, I shot the deputy for not making sauce sufficiently garlicky. Everything entangled in a single ecstasy. A single strand of Postamon linguine. This is the wildlife. Carbohydrates out of sight. Postamon fashion give eyesight, insight. See the world through spaghetti headlights. Ravioli fig leaf. Pasta paradise. Why? Why? Fresh onions, keep the beat, that's why. So much pasta, man cannot give it away. Or what's the matter with a bladder of pasta pate? You too can have your own pasta beret. You keep the home fries burning, a sorbet gourmet.
The around-the-way girl who learned about the streets by playing in and not working them. I am summer skipping crack valve rainbows and gunshot nights, escaping to warm Quebradilla sun, Oaxaca waves, and Coquí serenades. I am the proud descendant of another grandmother who shared her history, our history, daily. Mi abuelita querida, mi mamá, second mother, constantly schooling me on the true meaning of lo que verdaderamente es la vida. Lo que no es saber tener zapatos hasta los 14 años.
In a simultaneous bedroom with its scanned organs advanced on the carpet and trust. You push off into the catastrophe unequal to itself, padding its trenchwear with the destiny of eugenics. Ms. Meredith, has your child yet composed his Kindertoten leader? Or has he collapsed into a shadow of transaction threshold when thinking returns to the mechanical wonderkind unharmed? Funny, I was just thinking. Held up a felt and unethical jewel, infinitesimally within this word that bears you crosswise to the perception.
To eat. I ignored the phone at what peril? The rooms swelled a bit to fit my new silence, and my shirts were on the floor. There was no one could touch me. A sunny day is a sufficient cathedral, though I have not finished with you, Dr. Wong. The smell of frying fish drove me to the fire escape. The sun took its time, filling the harbor with ashes. Sandpipers moved. They were controlled by song. I saw my neighbor, the pencil, turn sideways in front of her mirror. She stepped into her wine glass as the sun brought everything a little closer to raspberries.
Loving you to decimate your affection, everything you have left, ignorance, hatred, depression, Lucifer's allure. The world watches you try to find a cure. Women talking about getting away from these trifling men. Go all around the world only to find them again. Men look at these fast females, not realizing the good qualities and details. My purpose is to start a controversy, because that's what I'm about. At times having fears and doubts. Understand why people are suicidal, because life itself became their ultimate rival. Death and misery, holding hands of Lucifer the apprentice. Understanding we're even
Pentagon office at a busy intersection in Saigon. I know what a severe blow my act will be to you, but don't be angry with me. Do not lose heart. I cherish it too much. Do not let them make me a madman. My position is that I only get one death in a room in a small hotel on Li Tu Trong Street. I want to protest the present government and economic system and the cynicism and passivity of the people. It is a waste of energy to get angry and gripe at the government. The government must be replaced. Those working in industries essential to maintaining life should democratically take over their workplaces and organize an emergency economy to supply the needs of the people. On the University of Pennsylvania campus.
Keep on pouring desperate till morality's out the window. Now bring in the guns and watch. Bullets. Flow. Keep them dependent upon false license. Keep it hidden to them what a true life is. Educational system remains hopeless. Wrong elements surrounds them, it's easy to lose focus. Flash forward to the present and look at these presidents who just...
And everyone, how many of you have made it over to the poetry brothel? Show of hands. Okay. Like a moment to relax. The nice thing about a poetry brothel is, believe it or not, there isn't too much show. You're just gonna head into a bedroom with a poet and share a little bit of poetry together. Again, that's building 410. It's right over here where I'm pointing, the brick house, just to the left of the white and brick house. Anyways, it's $5 a reading. Speak to Antonius. He is the gentleman in the hat and the vest and no shirt. I'm proud to introduce my next shift of poetry horrors.
Body made of cotton rag map. Lace artery interstate. Hands fall to her thighs as decoration. Insides blooming tool. If you pry inside her with good, cold spoons, a murder of crows migrating. Underneath her nail bed, cartography, woodcuts, forever wormy polk, chiffon, state lines, things that look like you. Whole quarries swallowing whales, jaguar songs. She sounds of crying days. When the solar eclipse comes, run. She is the brackish between of good and bad. Here is a diagram of the goddess. 1. Claws are a certain protein called grief. 2. Nails attached to wilted moons. 3. Breasts are caverns of flightless butterflies. 4. Velvet spleen without blood. 5. You. Thank you.
Themselves, like sweaters worn backwards, or blueberries with strawberry skins. See the 4 sharp tapered prongs of a spoon used to strum guitar strings made of fragile dragonfly wings. There are upside down rainbows under the bridge were the grain of cynicism, the ruby of fury, the metallic rust of grudges, the heady azure of grief, are reflected on the white dew on the thorns. All this where nothing is as it was thought, this inside-out universe of a hypercube gone mad.
Scholars and skeletons wail. She found it, asleep in cold hay in Denmark, disguised as the blasphemies of Bohm, as a quest for a carriage for the child she needed to emerge omnipotent, but did not. As a cry to recognize that to meet God you must pass through devil first. She was Mystic Mother Chanteuse Whore, showed gratitude for each venereal disease, each moment of mental collapse, sacrificed sleep and a full stomach on her altar each morning when the clock struck 3. Lusted after each caress of strange lover to bind her tighter to death. He came and gave that bind a name. D-A-D-A, Dionysius the Areopagite, a child's plaything, shampoo or mystic chaos, all a guttural shriek to action standing against itself, an alchemist's code of binaries, cracked revolution, language bomb, literature with a gun in hand. Black sun, white earth, and the softest song for those war disfigured, waiting for their eyes to grow back again. He was gasoline, drove each battle nightly to center stage where she chased them down her own throat, spat back up the real hell prophesied by saints she carried in her stomach, kept them clean by ripping her tongue out each night, letting it grow back steeped in the silent language of fish, the only creatures she could touch. In her silence, she sees she is the skull of the 300-year-old woman he fell in love with, painted flowers on its cheeks and set on top of her altar. That night, she led cabaret mass as a cubist priest. The skull spoke with grandmother tongue. The big drum banged on its own. The masks spun off the walls and danced solo. Only she knew these things. Only she will ever know these things. That they stirred angry old gods those early mornings. That those gods would eat the two of them, spew them back out. He, a martyr who would die with a hole in his stomach. She, a fairy tale crone who would have to write out of existence every moment they touched the face of it. The god who carves words on flesh stages.
Say something. But everyday evil is banal. I wanted to tell you sex shouldn't be like jabbing at a blue light special toy bin. I feel you splayed on the couch of my womb, pointing your finger, telling me to wrap in tinsel and gold velvet, to sit under the tree till morning with my breasts exposed. Still, when you leave, my curtains, discreet, have lifted you inside. So when the wind, lulled by a passing car, billows out the middle as a pregnant breast, your scent spreads soft the walls like murmur, like leaving the radio going for the dog.
We were beautiful, but annihilating. As simple as a person's gait, the shapes, gestures, hands take. Wrapped our mouths around the words like a weapon in memory we can't seem to stick to missing. A slickness under our tongues, nostalgia creeping in like a dream we can only remember the luster of. That stillness in our hearts that has us both by the throat. We want to revision. We want to write sentences with our eyes captured in their dialect, our smiles seeping through their syntax. We want to hold hands inside, burying this secret in a ribcage, so we are not responsible for knowing it anymore. Let it leaven with everything else we've stuck in there and left for breath to take. To quit a backslide like this, learning what we keep with lettuce and how we detonate. The more you are carved out, the more you can hold.
The whittling, the scratching, the gouge isn't enough. I'm leading you to the gallows as the queen of
The
hearts.
whittling, the scratching,
Maybe now you'll
the
do what you're
gouge isn't
told. The
enough.
more you are carved out,
leading
the
to
more you can
gallows
hold.
As the queen of hearts. Maybe now you'll do what you're told. The more you are carved up, the more you can hold.
My axe fillets thigh after thigh. You're wearing my hips like a hockey mask. Now you're beginning to fit the mold. The more you are carved out, the more you can hold. The stump of a tree and the scream of a saw. 1,000 faces litter my path. If you saw, there will be sawdust, I'm told. The more you are carved out, the more you can hold.
The more you are carved out, the more you can hold.
Thank you.
Ready. So now what? I fiddle with the keys in my pocket. How does the idle engine zoom? The sun breaks into sword, which I interpret not as threat of war, but rather as request. Paint my portrait, please, while the blade still gleams.